Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another live stream. Yes, technical difficulties have started already. It'll be a wild ride, everyone.
Buckle up, bitches.
I was worried last week with the fucking thunderstorms. I thought, great, if this is running on Thursday, then there's no way we're going to get the stream to survive the night. And weather's fine. Technology, not so fine. But anyway, good evening to everybody in the chat. Great to see the regulars. Hello, Tim. Hello, Orinoco. Hello, Darren. Hello, Ewok Kebab. Hello, Skink, stroke V. Hello, Upworlder, stroke Trevor. Hello, Spam and Egg. So there's your free space. Yeah, mate. Oh, hello, Crispin. Good to see you, sir.
He's back
you
after a
are.
hiatus.
I take it work's been kicking your ass or something, because we've not seen you for a bit, but good to see you. Hope everybody had a good week of gaming and hobby and all that stuff. Welcome. If you're watching us for the first time on YouTube, let me give you a breakdown of what we're going to be doing for the next couple of hours. David and I will be, first of all, running you through what we're going to be working on while we sit here and chat to the audience. Then we'll have a quick chat about what we did at our gaming club on Monday, because David and I tried something new, as we are wont to do, being gaming.
I know I'm apparently a savant, but we'll come to that later.
Yeah, David will be presenting the winning lotto numbers later in the show. Then I've got a few videos to share with everybody, just to discuss some of the stuff I've been watching on YouTube. Not so much news, I guess, as just a sort of insight into my watching habits and the things that I think are cool. Hello, Paul.
Did you delete the browser history, though, before?
No. So it could, that could also be a wild ride, just saying. But good, luckily we're not monetized, so being demonetized isn't an issue. Everybody better put the kids to bed just in case. And then after we've done that, we'll interact with our chat, talk a bit of cobblers like we normally do. Yeah. Do you know what? That's Darren's called it. I think that could be a doppelganger for Mystic Meg. He's definitely got the look, hasn't he, mate?
Fuck you lot. Just because I said something many moons ago and it turns out to be right, then...
You say anime, Tim. Some might say hentai.
It's one and the same. Just depends on where you draw the fucking line, doesn't it?
Just saying. Okay. Yeah, and then about 9 o'clock, we will be digging into our main topic. And what we're going to be talking about this week is something that's becoming a more common feature of the wargaming hobby for David and I, who are more mainstream. But I think actually it's been like if you wind the clock back,
us as mainstream?
Well, what I mean by that is if you go back 2 or 3 decades, like right to the earliest beginnings of the wargaming hobby. I mean, Christ, if you go back
Are
to
you about to say back in my day? Because if you don't, I will be very disappointed.
Me, in the historical field, I think there's, and again, I'm relying on a lot of support from people who've got way more experience in the field than me. Feel free to chip in
when you need him.
Feel free to chip in the comments and the chat if you're in. I think something that's been a feature of the historical wargaming sort of field is very much becoming something that's open to us as more mainstream gamers, and that's the concept that you take rules, models, terrain, and all of the components that build your gaming experience from everywhere, from loads of different companies and manufacturers, and effectively build your gaming experience in a very bespoke way. the flip side of that, the complete contrast of that, as I've put in the thumbnail, would be a good example. The best example probably is Games Workshop.
I'm just going to jump in over you here. Paul Howells has jumped in with the hashtag Paint Santa because that is required.
No.
Just saying.
Just saying no. So the flip side of the coin is the Games Workshop model, where you basically go to Games Workshop and they say, we give you the lot. You just come to us. We've got you covered on this. Rules, models, terrain, whatever you need, we've got it. And as I say, the main topic is going to be discussing those two things: pros, cons, what we, how we interact with it, where we sit.
Buts and maybes.
And you guys, hopefully, will be driving the conversation and having your chipping in. Right. First technical difficulty. Let's go to David's phone and see what's happening at David's desk, as it's been a little bit flaky and we don't know if we might be able to...
I will also say something while we go to David's desk.
Yes?
Please, for God's sake, tell me you queued up some tables of pictures of what we played on Monday.
I only have 2 pictures of the terrain before we played the game. I don't think I took a picture.
Yeah, that'll do. That's fine. That's fine.
That's
we'll
fine. But I have got something to show the boys and girls.
Linking to what we played on Monday, as those that are regular watchers of the show will have noticed, this is not 15mm Flames of War terrain.
No.
This is not Flames of War. This is some other MDF terrain that I bought from UK Games Expo that I'm just in the process of building. Main reason being Flames of War and the terrain and the absolute massive stint I put in last week to paint 60 odd walls, a church, build my trees, texture my tree bases and everything else has left me feeling a little bit burnt out. So we're going back to, fuck it, we'll do something different.
You are, credit to you though, mate. You're doing terrain, which is, bang on brand.
True.
What Darren says, I remember that MDF. Yes, this was one of your pickups at UKGE, wasn't it, sir?
This is from Gridlock Studios. This is the Scrap Hull 2 sections.
Yep.
Courtesy of here.
Well
interestingly, at the show, we had this style of building it, where it was all one piece on like a base that they'd cut out as a tunnel to run through.
Yeah.
Or they'd done it as like 2 strip sections. Now, the main reason I purchased this was for sci-fi games, but also for Gaslands, because racing through a crashed starship hull seems cool as fuck.
Actually, do you know what? That is a fucking good shout. As a tunnel terrain piece for Gaslands, that could be pretty epic.
So I'm thinking build this all up as a tunnel, put it on a base similar to what I did with my church, put a bit of texture on it, done.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a shout, mate. Good job.
And then once I've done that, we will possibly move on to the second set, which is the Kandor wreckage, which is some more scattery spaceship wreckage.
Okay, and all you're planning to do tonight is to get it built, is it?
Yeah, just build it. Build it.
Fair
build
comment.
The more I build, the...
Tim's just shouted out, on Tabletop are doing their Terrain Fest in the month of October. So you and I will probably have to do a terrain-focused project, I imagine.
Bitch, we've got your Frostgrove table to finish.
We have.
Let's do that. Let's go. Let's do that.
Okay, fucking hell, we can do. I suppose it's started, so we could make a push and finish it.
Many hands make light work.
Yeah, I might grab some and put it on the painting table. A small one, not because of Ben. I might be playing Gaslands this Saturday, 4-way death race at 50 cans per team. So,
yeah.
Are you?
Is that your first game, Darren, or are you a veteran?
That's what was my question was going to be. Are you a veteran? or are you new to it? I've got a feeling you've talked about Gaslands before, Darren, so I'm sure you're not new to it.
Right, I'm going to just jump out a shot a second to get
Penis
something.
ship for the win. Oh my god! I don't
Crispin's on one.
Does that mean you're going to finish your massive ship project, or are you going to start a new one, Crispin?
Of course he'll start a new one. It's Crispin. He doesn't seem to finish any of the huge boats other than occasionally.
See, Upworlder, and many hands can do other things, lol. Oh, God.
Trevor, back in your box.
Okay, yeah. Darren has played several games. I felt sure that you'd mentioned it, mate.
I just wanted to double check. Oh, here's a question for you, Darren.
So Crispin's doing the Flesh Gordon, literally the Flesh Gordon penis ship. Oh my god.
I have a question for you, Darren. What faction are you planning on running?
Yeah, do you have a preferred or what? Right, let me discuss what I'm going to be doing tonight. Let's get this out of the way. Harmon Cars based on based. He'll be unbased. Nobody bases Gasland cars except probably Jerry would. Oh! Look at
What's
Tim.
happened?
Tim, has Mr. Cookie Cutter ever finished a project on OTT?
Tim, I am nothing but if not consistent.
So Darren hasn't made up his mind what faction yet. Well, if you decide during the course of the stream, Darren, you'll have to tip us off. Paul's in the base the cars.
Do you have Darren? Do you have a rule book handy?
I imagine he does. Right. While Darren's getting his Gaslands rulebook, I've got a Gaslands rulebook here. Did you want it for something?
It's not fucking show and tell.
I'll tell you what would be cool is if I could pass the rulebook off screen right, and you could pull it in screen left. That'll have to be something we set up.
Actually,
Tim, so that's a no, I take it. Look, Tim, leave the man alone.
Oh fuck, spam's jumping on me as well now, Jesus.
Oh, Paul telling David. Oh. Yeah, you're getting fucking... Right, somebody can call an ambulance for David. He appears to be getting a kick in.
No, I need a fire extinguisher because I'm on fire and I need to visit the burns unit.
Right, okay, what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be doing... So everybody may recognise this. This is a Drake, which is the XL Salamander's ship from Mantic's Armada. And I'm going to be doing a job I am just... do you know what? I'm so excited about doing it. I haven't been putting it off at all.
Is it gold filigree?
It's painting all of the fucking gold details on this son of a bitch boat. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Genuinely, mate.
I'm
just sat here thinking, the next time you paint one, just fucking base coat it gold and then paint the other stuff in because it will be easier.
Into the recesses. Yeah, that'll be easier. Fucking hell. It's a good shout. Good shout. Where is it? There it is. Bit of salt. Yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. I'm not sure how much of the fucking gold I'll get done on this. It's got more than King Midas's fucking bathroom all over it. So, but we'll do a little bit and see how far we get. Look at Tim at A's support commenter Trevor. There might be a day when we finish our projects when every mini is painted, but this is not today. Oh
It's
my
not ever,
God.
Tim. It's not ever.
I mean, Orinoco, that is actually quite a sensible suggestion, and I'm going to be totally fair. Overbrushing, because obviously I want the colour to be quite strong. Overbrushing on the model does work quite well on, like, you see these finned details with the pronounced ridges. Overbrushing does actually work quite well. The thing that's a complete twat is, if you can see these sort of pagoda style roofs, you can see there's like a central area and then like an edging which is attached to the crowning spikes. That is all painted gold around a chocolate brown finish, and it does look lovely, but each of those lines has got to be painted in, and because it's flat, you literally just have to paint it all in, and it just takes absolutely fucking forever.
What is it with you and picking schemes that are fucking terrible to paint?
Because I'm an idiot. I'm a
This is
recognised
stream idea.
idiot.
Stream idea. Painting
Yeah.
and colour theory, and don't do a pool.
Yeah, don't copy.
And we can just drag out every single one of your armies that you fucking swear about.
In my defence, I am copying Mantic's fucking studio paint job. So I blame Mantic. It's your fault. All right. Just saying.
And what was your excuse for the Necrons?
Well, the Necrons was entirely a self-inflicted wound. I'm not even going to try and pass that one off to anyone else. So
What was your excuse for your space dwarves? No, we've kicked David. We're kicking you now. It's your fucking turn.
the dwarves were fine. The dwarves was
You know that. I'm going to go back and find the fucking clip on stream of you bitching about the fact that you couldn't see the difference and they were a twat to paint and everything else.
What are you talking about? My Mantic dwarves?
Yeah.
No, they were fine.
You were complaining. But
Yeah,
anyway.
that's got more to do with the fact that I'm a minging old bastard than actually there was anything wrong with it.
You were always a minging old bastard.
Okay.
20 past 8, nearly. I think it's top.
Sorry everybody, Tim's just given you a spoiler of one of the things I'm going to talk about next. See, some dude on YouTube. David, let Paul do his hobby like he wants, you bloody gatekeeper.
He shall not pass go. He shall not collect £200.
Oh dear. I don't know if he's actually seen your video, Tim. Because he's not a massive fan like I am. A Tim fanboy. Woo! Right, go on then, mate. So it turns out you've got psychic potential, doesn't it?
I have psychic potential. So on Monday, we played Flames of War. Table wasn't finished, but it did look pretty darn fucking beautiful anyway. So we had the starter German set versus the starter American Airborne set. Game was all right.
Let me see if I can get the pictures up. You keep talking.
If we go to wibbly wobbly timey wimey mode,
so yeah,
we did a stream a few weeks ago
about
demo games. And Paul, all I'm saying is hit it.
Okay. I hope everybody can hear that.
We'll soon find out. But basically, in that, I called the fact that Flames of War, we didn't try a demo game and we might not like it.
Okay,
well, guess what, boys and girls?
Okay, there's no sound. David, you just talk him through it. You narrate.
Yeah, so basically, in that episode, at the rough timestamp that's on screen, I said to Paul, while we're talking about demo games and committing to Gaslands and other bits and pieces and costs, I did say we might regret Flames of War. And we played Flames of War on Monday, and guess what, boys and girls? We probably wouldn't have bought it if we'd played a demo game.
Yes, so bit of shameless self-promotion. My God, I've lost the ability to talk. Go and watch this stream because the advice in it is bang on the money. do try games before you buy is the message, because
Flames of War is okay, and
yeah.
that's all I really have to say on the matter. The dice mechanic, it's okay. We were getting there, weren't we? The movement mechanic, it's okay. The terrain, again, really nice bit in the rulebook with the table of all the terrain types and everything else. That's really nice. But it just didn't sing, did it? It didn't come alive. And I don't know whether that was the game mode that we played, because obviously the first game of every game seems to be kick the shit out of one another. So that's the game mode we played.
I'll be honest, mate. I think that is definitely worth calling out, because when you look at the Flames of War rulebook, the first let me set up a slideshow here. The first mission is literally, like David
Annihilation?
said. I can't remember what it's called, but the idea is that you literally destroy your opponent's formation. Okay, so let me see if I can. There we. Okay. That's the one I want. Right. So this is the table. So just so that everybody can see the terrain. Oh, Paul, you get in there, mate. Paul's saying that's why trench offensive is so good.
Yes, I did get the worms, Trevor. Don't fucking sound clip that, boys and girls at home. I've just realised what I fucking said. Fuck! Regret button! Fuck it!
Oh dear, I think Tim's already on that. I'll be shocked if that's not on his channel. So that's the table, which it's not finished. Obviously, the woods need some work, but we were really happy with the fields. The roads look great, which we bought in. David's done a great job of the church there at the back.
It's still not fully finished because it's not had a wash on it and everything else. Same with all the dry stone walling that.
Oh yeah, the walls look great.
Dropped around the edge of the roads, etc. That had its base coat down. It had one of its two highlight stone colours, picking them out randomly. We robbed the dress trees and the bocage from the club set, didn't we, lad?
Yep.
But everything else on that table is stuff that I've built and painted, or textured, ready for painting and whatnot.
And so the Flames of War rulebook tells you to play this scenario for a few times before you move on to more advanced scenarios. The problem is, I think I'm going to call it now, that's bad advice, because the scenario is open-ended. There's no game length.
It's go to the death.
It is literally destroy your enemy's core formation. And obviously, if you're new to the game, there's a whole lot woven into that, like targeting the core formation units rather than the support units. There's a lot of sort of meta knowledge that makes that mission style effective. I think it's a poor choice for beginners. So that's the first thing. The second thing, like David said, it's D6 based. The mechanics, the core mechanics are fine. Essentially, hi Ellen, it's a variation on the 40k Games Workshop model, where instead of hit, wound, save, you've got hit, save, wound in effect. They've sort of like flipped it.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, but it's still like a 3 dice step. It's fine.
It won't be till summer 24, Trev, because that's when it's delivering.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. So, it's fine. Ultimately, David and I didn't finish the game. We just sort of like...
We called it at what, about turn 6?
Yeah, we did. We played a good 3 hours of it and then just called it, because we found that everything was quite survivable. It was quite difficult to take out units and formations, which is a good thing, because it's not a lot of alpha striking.
Well, after 3 hours of game time, I had 2 dead Pershings that had blown themselves up, a dead scout car, a Jeep, and then 2 dead M8 Greyhounds. You had what? A bailed out Tiger, 3 dead Stugs.
Oh, I lost the entire Stug unit.
Platoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your 88 got blown to smithereens.
Yes, I was down to one of those, wasn't I?
Yeah.
So, again, it's fine. But it didn't exactly set us on fire. And the other thing is, the other reason I think that perhaps it fell a bit flat for us is I can't see what it does that games we already play don't already do.
Other than the fact that it's 15mm World War II and a lot of armour.
Yeah.
That is the only thing.
I mean...
Don't get me wrong. I like the game. I will play the game again. And I will... But it's like I said to you after we played it. This game needs objectives, etc.
Yes.
Because that particular game mode that we played in Annihilation was just a fucking slog.
Yeah. It was not at all inspiring to play.
The table design was okay. The only comment that we had after the game was... So Paul was playing on the side closest from where the view's taken from, with the fields and the farmhouses. I was on the far side, the other side of that forest and the other side of the church. The only comment we had was I had quite a lot of line of sight blocking, so we both kind of had to be aggressive to get lines of sight onto one another, which meant we always had penalties for hitting.
Yeah, and it would have been better to probably place the big church and the big woods diagonally opposite each other. The other thing that is fair to say, Flames of War is designed for a 6x4, and the vast majority of our club stuff is set up for 4x4 games. And I would totally agree with them. It was way too crowded on
a 6x4. 4x4.
It's getting there, Darren. We're not going to oversell it. I'm really impressed with what David's managed to get done, but I mean, it's nowhere near finished. Again, unfortunately,
no, I've got a load of bocage and hedgerows still to build. I've got to flock all my trees. I've got to paint all my tree bases. I've got to do all my dry stone walling and wash my church.
And as I say, we didn't take a ton of pictures because the other thing, shame, my models were not painted really at all. They were barely assembled. David's looked great, but mine didn't look good at all. So we didn't exactly generate a spectacle, hence the lack of pictures. And we were
the table looked beautiful, but even though it's in its half-finished state, it was one of those things of once we got the stuff on the table, it was like, oh, this looks like it's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
And then we felt a little bit let down, didn't we?
Yeah. I don't want to give the game too much of a kicking, but...
No, I don't. It just felt a little lackluster for our first game. Do you know what I mean? It didn't grab us.
The one thing I do think is that I walked away from Flames, and I said this to David, I had the same sort of feeling when I played Infinity the first time, which is I felt I'm missing something. It's one of those games, like, it's quite difficult to actually just remove your enemy's assets. Stuff isn't as killy as you'd think it would be. So I was left thinking, so actually the route to victory might not be involved killing everything. You know, maybe there's more subtlety to it. And
hence our call for objectives.
Yeah, and I definitely will replay it a few times. I mean, hell, we've invested, so why not just go with it? But as it stands at the minute, like if David said, well, if you wanted to play a company level armor game, would you rather play this or Drop Zone Commander? Drop Zone Commander every day. I had a much more exciting game
I
experience from it.
have a criticism of Gridlock Studios.
Okay, go for it.
It tells me to go to their website for the
Yes.
instructions.
Okay.
I've gone to their website. The website's expired. If this account has expired, if you're the site owner, click below to log in.
Oh shit. Okay.
I'm going to send them an Instagram message.
That's shit. Huh. Can you just Google them? Do you think they've got a different website?
No, I've just done that, and it takes me back to the same place.
Oh.
I've found them.
Do you do you think the instructions are needed? Is the kit that difficult? What's everybody saying in the chat?
I want to see if there's options. People are on about flocking things real good.
So Orinoco's put his battle group any good as a rule set. Honestly, Orinoco, I don't know. I have heard of battle group as a rule set. It's World War II, isn't it? And I think, is it scale agnostic? It's one of those things where I've got the feeling I've seen people playing battle group at different scales. Let's
open the window slightly.
Tim's put company web belly up laughing. Darren says, have you tried their Etsy page? No, but a good shout. So, yeah, that's what we did on Monday night. We'll keep you posted on what we... Does anybody have any experience with Flames of War in the chat? Because I know it is a popular game.
Upworlder, I've just seen your comment in the club Discord. What are you thinking?
So, Orinoco, you what's that to? Yes, battle group is scale agnostic, or yes, you've played Flames. Because to be honest, I'm willing to. It's a shame Jerry's not here, because I wanted to sort of ask that question. What am I missing? What should I be focusing on to, you know, what's the shtick? Both. Okay. So, would you have... Oh, a previous edition. Okay. So, as I say, if you've got any useful insights, Orinoco, anything that you think, you know, was like, oh yeah, that was a noob error, the game's much more enjoyable if you focus on this, or think about it in these terms, then feel free to educate both me and anybody else watching who might be new to Flames.
I'll have a think, lad.
Because as I say, I definitely got that I'm missing something
vibe. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's not something that you've explored recently because you've only played a previous edition. That's fair enough. Fair enough then, sir. Would you recommend the battle group rule set, Orinoco? Yeah, don't we all, mate? Don't honestly. Fucking, we all do. Don't even go there. So yeah, that was what we did at club. I tell you what. The other thing that I've been getting my ass kicked a bit with hobby motivation recently. I had a strip down and a clear out of my desk. Primarily to make room to build that Flames of War stuff and get it at least assembled for our game. But mainly because I was getting to that stage, as I'm sure lots of people have, where you have lots of things on the desk that are half finished or started but not even close to done. And
we don't talk about David's desk.
And I'd got so much of it, it was just depressing. So I've had a purge, and I literally just left one thing on the desk to do. Because it is literally my last Armada piece. When this is done, all of my Armada is painted. And funnily enough, this feeds into the first of the videos that I wanted to mention. So I am a bit of a fan of Blackjack Legacy's live stream, which he does every Monday. So unfortunately, it clashes with our gaming club. So you're doing a giant, Darren? Is that what's the giant for? Your 5 leagues stuff, or are you doing some other project now? So Blackjack Legacy did a stream. I think this was this week's. It might even be last week's. Let me check. 2 days ago. So this was this week's live stream. And basically he's talking about exactly what I've been just mentioning. Yes, okay, yeah, I thought about driving to the club this week, Trevor, but luckily you weren't there, so it didn't matter. But yes, sir, I will. But Blackjack's talking about exactly this sort of thing. He describes it as focus. Swords and lasers, no specific game. Cool. Oh, did you see Tim's comment, David? Gridlock Etsy store, last updated 5th of September. Fear not, the studio is undergoing changes. We are pausing orders for now while this work is completed, Ed. So there you go.
That's wonderful. But what about if you want to build some terrain while they're on a fucking hiatus?
Oops.
I'm not allowed to say that.
Just wing it, mate. What can go wrong? What can possibly go wrong?
Everything.
But yeah,
David's involved.
So in Blackjack's stream, he describes it as focus, and basically he talks about it's not necessarily something everybody needs, but this concept of how do you stop yourself becoming overwhelmed, and it's a good old watch. I do like his live streams. He's got great audience interaction. I mean, to be honest, because he's on his own, he interacts with his audience even more than David and I do, to be honest. Because at least we have each other to bounce off. So, yeah, there's some nice little sort of like thought-provoking interactions here, particularly if you find yourself getting overwhelmed with stuff, which, to be honest, I think we all do from time to time. Wouldn't you agree, mate?
Yeah.
As the one common flaw in most of the people in our hobby is an inability to stop spending money on things that we don't really have time to commit to.
It's fine.
It's not fine. Well, it is fine. It's not. I mean, let's, setting it in context, it's not exactly the end of the world, but it can be a bit of an Achilles heel, isn't it? Can't it? Bit of a reckless thing to do. So, Skink V says, how to avoid hobby burnout. Yeah, question I've asked myself a fair bit as of late. Resorted tonight to attempt to work on one of my other neglected hobbies. That can work. I mean, to be honest with you, V, exactly the same for me. I used to play a lot of guitar, and because this has been kicking my ass and literally I've not felt it at all. I've dragged one of my old guitars out, restrung it, cleaned it. I've changed the socket out, done a bit of soldering, and got back into giving that a strum. Just to kill an hour or two in the evenings. Yeah, good. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm sure we've all faced it. Yeah, Darren says, Blackjack Legacy, a nice familiar accent. Yeah, I bet it is. You're right from your neck of the woods. Crispin. See that Crispin guitar will get you more trim than gaming will. Yeah, fair. I must confess, the wife does get more excited about me serenading her on the guitar than she does about me talking about the latest fucking toy soldiers I've been painting and collecting, which just makes her roll her eyes and reach for the TV remote. So what else? Oh, we've got this lunatic. So, have you seen, David? You might want to
Who's
go
this
and watch
lunatic?
this. I don't know if you've seen this madman. So Tim put a great video up on his channel. I believe it was this week, wasn't it, Tim? Where are we at? 2 days ago, yeah. And it's just classic Tim. Sun Dude on YouTube for everybody who's watching along on YouTube. It's just a load of captions and Tim pulling weird, frustrated faces. But the message is cool, which is that there is a lot of noise out there, and do you know what? There's only one sign that you're actually doing something wrong with your hobby, and that's when it's not making you happy. If you're not enjoying it, there is something wrong. If you are enjoying it, there's absolutely nothing fucking wrong. Even if somebody tells you that there is, they are wrong. Okay? Because it's your hobby and it's your fun. And this video is just, I don't know, how long is it, Tim? 2 minutes? Not even 2 minutes. But do you know what? It's such a great message. Absolutely fucking awesome. It's just an awesome little bit of YouTube, and go along, click like, and subscribe to his channel, just as a reward for putting out something that's brilliantly simple, but just heartwarming. Although he does have no taste in t-shirts. Right.
You'll want to talk.
The next thing I want to talk about is it's going to be Guerrilla Miniature Games, but we're going to go via the painting phase. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask everybody if they remember this painting phase video from a long while ago. This is 2 months old now, and this was a chat. The painting phase do these chat videos where Peachy and the gang talk to, recognised faces in our wargaming hobby. And this was Tim Hibbard, who I believe was a product design guy for the sort of like hobby products wing of Games Workshop and Citadel. So he was the guy who was responsible for clippers and paints and inks. Yes, yeah, it is. But isn't that the Death Band font? Isn't that right?
I don't know. I was just fixing my microphone because I managed to unplug it.
Because, to be honest, if it had been Death, that would have been way better than Darth Vader. But then again, maybe that's me.
I do have blue here.
No. Tim, Metal, Star Wars, Crossed Streams, no. So anyway, coming back to what we were talking about, distracted by Tim. So Tim Hibbard basically told us something that we've all known for a while. He described the shape he's making here is what's called they call the hobby funnel. And basically what he said was, Games Workshop have refined their business model so that they want to capture the people at the top of this funnel. So these are the people entering the hobby in the first year, 18 months, 24 months of their hobby journey. This is Games Workshop's target audience. When you pass through that zone and either leave the hobby or enter as somebody more mature or refine your tastes so that you start to seek out more boutique products like brushes and paints, you start to expand your gaming mix and look for other products. Games Workshop are fucking done with you. They don't want to know. They don't care. If you give them money, they won't throw it back in your face, but they don't actually give a shit. All they care about is this bit of the fucking community. The starters, the entrants, the new blood. Nobody else down here matters. And I saw this. So Ash Barker at Guerrilla Miniature Games has been doing a big overhaul of his studio, and he's revisiting something that he used to do quite a bit, where he does almost podcast style editorializing, where it's sort of stream of consciousness video. He'll either be talking to a friend, a bit like the painting phase, somebody in the industry, somebody he knows, because he's got a history with Games Workshop and he knows everybody in his part of Canada who's in the hobby, and a lot of people internationally. So, and he's going back to making these videos where he sort of explores issues and meta stuff. So he's not talking about a specific game or whatever. It's not a gameplay
The hobby
video.
as a whole, the hobby health.
It's an editorial content video. And he's talking to, I apologise, I don't know this guy's name. Chris. So this is Chris. He runs a gaming store near Ash, called Lords of War Hobbies, I think. And basically, the meat of the conversation is Ash talking to Chris about how Games Workshop's current business model is affecting his business as a friendly local independent game store who sells majority GW stuff. Well, that's not true. Actually, Chris is quite fortunate in that his biggest cash slice is hobby products, including airbrushes, but then he's a bit of a specialist in the area. He runs airbrush training classes, they do airbrush maintenance and compressor maintenance and blah blah blah. So he's got that. Below that is Games Workshop products, and then below that is everything else in the hobby. Every other war game, every other company, board games, whatever. It's all way below that. And to give you the TLDR, these two guys who are both, people with great experience in the hobby, they discuss the fact that Chris has built his entire business model on a completely different footing to Games Workshop's current direction. What Chris has built his business on over many, many years, nearly 10 years I think it was, is constantly supporting the customer, helping the customer grow, and if the customer comes in with needs, fulfilling the needs that the customer comes with, and building a relationship. And basically what Chris says is, it's scaring him a bit because all of Games Workshop's current activity is undermining that. It's all to do with, he sort of makes the analogy of like the John Ford thing, the guy from the late 1800s, early 1900s, when motor cars were becoming a thing. And he said, you can have any colour you like as long as it's black. And it's a bit like that with Games Workshop. You go to him now and he says, I can sell you anything you like as long as it's one of these 4 or 6 new releases this week. Oh no, but I want a Land Raider. Well, no, sorry, that kit's been out of stock for 8 months.
Shit out of luck.
I want some Sisters of Battle. Well, no, sorry, that's been out of stock for 6 months. I want the... No, I'm sorry, I can't get you that. I can get you... Which of the new releases do you want this week? And basically, his customers are saying, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go elsewhere. Because I want specific things. And he's like, well, I can't fucking get them. You know?
Yeah.
And it was... When I watched this video, this is why I'm so glad Ash is going back to this stuff, because he's got a great way about him. He's got a load of experience. And he's just got a great talent for putting his thumb on issues. And when you watch this, particularly if you watch the painting phase one back to back, I think you're beginning to see why there is such a swelling dissatisfaction with Games Workshop among me and my peers, people like me, because this isn't what we want. That's the brutal truth of it. We don't want this.
No.
I don't want to be force fed what they want to give me. I want to make choices and decisions for myself. It's my hobby. Do you know what I mean? If I need a new car, I need a new car. Just give me the hard sell. I'll buy the best deal I can get. You know? But this is different. This is the whole process is recreational. Choosing what I want. Buying what I want. The whole fucking thing's messed up. But as I say, I would highly recommend this video. It's quite long. It's really clunky because there's loads of... It's a bit like watching us. There's technical difficulties, microphones falling off desks. The professional polish isn't there. The camera's not particularly framed very well. But forget all of that. It's essentially just got great podcast content. Paul Howell says, GW also force small businesses to buy certain products when they place orders. Exactly. I mean, Chris calls this out. I mean, he says he doesn't want to shit where he eats. And he says that he's got a good relationship with his GW rep. But like the guy says to him, well, we think based on your turnover, you want to buy 10 of these. And he's like, no, I don't want 10 of them. I won't sell them. And they're like 90 quid, $100 each. So no thanks. I don't want them. Thank you very much. And, you know, it's just a great video. So that's my recommendation. And that's the last video I have for everybody in terms of the news. Do you have anything that you wanted to talk about, mate?
No, I don't really. The only thing I saw this week, and it kind of
Toros. First time I've seen you tonight,
into the main topic, is I saw Verotwood, and I sent you a link to it after. So, for those that don't know...
Let me see if I can Google it. I'll apologise if the sound goes a little bit clippy as I open a new web page for everyone.
Verotwood is a 4 miniature-side fantasy horror game revolving around a cult and worshipping some deities in a forest, or words to that effect. Commitment-wise, 4 miniatures aside and a load of terrain. But I saw it advertised on Instagram. There's a few things out on... It's only available on digital, but I can't remember. It's Wargames Vault?
It is Wargame Vault, so yeah, I've put it up on the screen for everyone. I think what you sent me was an article from a blogger who did a project and battle report.
2 demo games and project battle report, yeah.
It does look very interesting. Good little low footprint game.
D10 pool game. Recommended play area is a 3x3.
Okay.
Ewok. Is it good?
Oh, we've got somebody who's partaken, have we?
Yes. But I like the look of it. It seemed pretty cool, and it's not overly expensive.
Did you? Yeah. Go on, Ewok. Give us the sell, mate. Is it good? What do you think? But how much have you looked at Wargames Vault, sir? Do you know how much the rules are?
Like $7.
Okay. So basically, fuck all.
Yeah, basically.
Do you think this is something you might be purchasing?
It may well be something I'm purchasing because, again, and we'll come to it as part of the main topic, I own a 3D printer.
Yeah.
And I need
Oh,
an
yeah.
excuse.
I imagine the miniature side of this would be like fucking crack for you, wouldn't it?
Yes. So that's just something that I saw on the worldwide internets this week. I'm currently using super glue. I don't know if this is necessarily the best solution to the problem, but we'll go with it.
Why is that? Because you can't work out how to get it together, or it's
I'm using super glue.
PVA's too slow.
Yeah, I got this little thing, and I've got to slot the horizontals in and hold it all square and everything else. So I'm trying to use super glue to get it to set and be rigid for me.
Okay, so just to catch up with the chat, Darren says he's picked it up but hasn't got into it yet. Ewok says it's good, fun, and it's simple. Toros says I'm tempted by Blood and Crowns but can't afford the Kickstarter. Ewok says possibly too simple for some, but it's really easy to introduce people to the hobby as a whole. That makes sense. I mean, do you know what? As was highlighted by Hereward, the simplicity of a core game mechanic isn't necessarily a bad thing. As long as it... Look at as long as there's some... As long as there's enough room in your core mechanics for the player to feel that they've got agency to make meaningful decisions, you do not need 1,000 complicated rules interacting at once.
No, you don't.
You know, that game that we played at Hereward, whose name has gone completely out of my head because I'm a fucking...
The cyberpunky one.
Yes,
Exploit Zero.
Exploit Zero. Exploit Zero's 4-action mechanic tied to different dice values where you choose how you spend your actions on the activities that you need. You basically set your own priorities for what you want to achieve during your turn. Fucking ridiculously simple idea. But it's an engaging game.
Yeah.
You know? It doesn't have stat cards with the sophistication of a Malifaux character. It doesn't have 40 stratagems per faction like bloody 40k with a multi-layered command point system and loads of other bollocks. Doesn't need it.
No, it doesn't.
You know? Yeah, that's a good suggestion from Orinoco. Use superglue as your first anchor and then just PVA round it to give it the strength. That's a good shout, Orinoco. Ewok says that there's like D100 tables so that you can do names for your cult.
I know they said that there's like, what's it called? It uses a Pokédex for like the narrative events.
Veritwood lets you puke crows at people. What's not to like?
Okay.
That sold. That sounds genius.
Sold to the man in red.
I've actually got a rather cool sort of flock of birds model that I think I got from the Reaper Metal range. That might be a good excuse to use that, finally. I'm not sure how that works in the game, whether it's like a spell mechanic or something. But that does sound very cool. So, are we ready to tackle the main topic then, mate?
Yeah, let's cut our teeth.
Right. So let me fucking load up with some more gold paint. Right, so it's nearly 10 o'clock.
Nearly 10.
No, 9. Sorry, I was
Can you read
distracted.
a fucking clock? Fucking idiot.
Toros says AWOC, is that the random number generating table where you roll 2dx and then consult at a table to see what random number you got? I think somebody's taking the piss. Darren says I've also got Forbidden Psalms, which again I've yet to play. Guerrilla Miniature Games has done a load of that Forbidden Psalms, haven't they, mate?
No.
Ooh, there's a Wild West what for Verretwood? That's intriguing. See, look, I'm always right somewhere in the world. Tim says it's 10 o'clock there.
We are not European, Paul.
We're not anymore, apparently. We've sort of like divested ourselves of the European continent and said no. That'll not be a thing.
We're sailing to America. Let's
We're sailing
go.
away. We've upped anchor and we're off west. Like the elves, we're sailing off west. Right, so tonight's main topic. So as I said at the top of the show, something that we've been contemplating and in fact doing more recently, mate, is breaking away from game systems where everything is laid on for you. So
yes,
I'm sure that the vast majority of people who will be watching this stream, and the vast majority of people actually in our hobby, taking into account all of the Games Workshop people, which far outnumber, I'm sure, pretty much everybody else, because that's the nature of the beast, are used to a scenario where
everything's handed to you on a silver platter.
Yeah. One company gives you everything. So, so Tim's getting redacted. It took me a while to train YouTube to redact you, Tim, selectively, but it does a good job now. So, a company I can't remember who sold it for 50p to the gamer who had everything. Not quite sure what you mean there, Toros, but yeah. So Mantic again. Okay, if you want to play a Mantic game like Firefight, they've got terrain crate, their whole terrain crate range to provide you with terrain. They've got the rulebook, the miniatures, it's all there. You just go to them and they say, okay, we'll give you want the firefight experience, you've got it. You want the dead zone experience, you've got it. Games Workshop do the same, 40k. We'll give you everything you need. We'll even give you fancy dice and hobby products. And I mean, Games Workshop, literally, their ambition is to be the one-stop shop. And this is a really popular model, and I think there's two reasons why it's successful. The first one is an obvious economic reason. If you ring fence people's spending so that you get all of the money, that's a more successful business model, isn't it, mate?
Yes. Milk it for everything you can and worry about everything else later if you can give your customers the support.
Yeah. I mean, Mantic aren't as egregious as some.
Fucking hell, Taurus has just kicked Tim's ass.
Why? What is...
Tim, it's because you're European. They have their Brexit filter on.
I think he might have been calling us out.
Well, no, calling you out, because I'm very not... Brexit was a bad thing, but we'll gloss over that because we're not a political channel.
Yeah, we're not a political channel. So, yeah. obviously the economic argument is easy to make. Why would you give somebody else an opportunity to take money when you can make that sale? You can take that cash. The other thing that I think is a fair argument in terms of it being a pro to the whole concept is it is very beginner friendly.
You go into your local store, you are greeted by the rules, the demo tables, the miniatures, the paints, the brushes, everything you need to get going. You're like a child in a candy store.
I mean, you might even be super lucky and they wrap everything up in a little box that you can buy, you know, terrain rules and miniatures just by that get started.
What, you mean like the Leviathan box and things that seem to go out of stock very quickly?
Look, yes. Yes, the model obviously only works if you actually have product to sell, but we won't get into that right now.
Logistics, that's another stream topic.
Yeah, that's another way to make successful business, guys. If you actually want to market and sell something, make sure you can make it. So, I mean, can you think of any other reasons where this sort of idea or this sort of model shines? Any other reason why it might be so popular, or do you think those two alone?
I have another idea here.
Yep.
You don't see many teenage kids that are getting into the hobby going, let's go hang out at our local nondescript Joseph shop that's not got the cool table and other bits and pieces. If it's a good hobby shop that has demo tables and access to a lot of things that they do. The other thing is, because it's so on the high street, it's got presence, and if you mention to anybody that isn't in the hobby Warhammer or 40k, etc., most people know what you're on about because they've walked past the store when they've been shopping.
To be fair, though, that is something that does differ across different countries. I'm
just saying, like, UK experience.
Yeah. Because like I think this is one of the areas where probably the transatlantic thing differs from his in the UK, in that Games Workshop essentially created a scenario where they dominate and pretty much monopolize high street presence. Independent game stores in this country are fucking rare. To an independent game store, you'd probably not find them outside of largish cities, even big towns. There's often not the customer base to make one viable. Because Games Workshop really even from the 70s, wasn't it, when they set their first shops up?
Yeah,
they created a situation where they just basically dominated, monopolized the high street. In America, although there is a growing network of Games Workshop or Warhammer stores, the impression I get is that there are more. I mean, you can correct me, Crispin, because you're from the States. Okay, so yeah, but again, that defines an independent store, doesn't it, mate? Somebody who can, because even in this country, you wouldn't get a war game store. You'd get a store that did war games, board games, geek. It might even do
Geekery.
Sort of like any kind of geek side thing, comic books, bloody Gundams, RC cars, railway hobby, yeah. And even those things are damn rare here. You might get certainly places that specialise in remote control cars and railway might be more common in big towns, but it's unusual to see all of the geek things catered to.
Yeah. Again, you have like a local model shop that does railway and RC, but that's about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't get any other offering.
Thinking about our sort of like premise of the Monopoly scenario, does that actually make a difference? I mean, Games Workshop are exceptional because they literally took the Monopoly to the extreme, where they literally set up a shop where you can only buy their shit. So they went Monopoly ham, didn't they?
They got the full hotel set.
But, you know, even if you were to take somebody like Warlord or Gripping Beast Saga, for example, you know,
Zatu?
I don't know as it necessarily matters. You know, the retail side of it, they don't really care whether they're selling it through a web store or a high street store. Yeah, they're still great places to visit, particularly for hobby stuff. Yeah, that's definitely. I spy with my little eye somebody's passion, Ewok Kebab.
What's that?
He's saying there's a nautical store in that famous seaside town, Derby. Yeah, brilliant. Bloody hell. Jesus. So Games Workshop are having a kicking even in the States. I mean, to be honest with you,
I hate to say they deserve it, but
yeah, I'm not gutted. Because of what they've done over
worse
here.
things could happen.
Look at Ewok. Gripping Beast just makes me think of Alone Time.
Oh
Fucking
my
hell.
God.
Hang on a minute. So with him and Crispin, we could have this chat could run, fellas.
Where's Spam when you need her to wander in and make a dirty comment?
Don't encourage her, mate. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a thing. Here's the thing, though, right? What the cons of it are, and I think there are cons. The cons are that it limits choice. And the problem with monopolies is that they do make gaming experiences sort of all or nothing.
It's very cliquey.
Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, even a game that I like Malifaux, is like people either play Malifaux or they don't. Do you know what I mean? And that means that you either buy Weird's products or you don't. You are very much, like I said, all or nothing is the best way I can describe it, which is fine, but doesn't have to be that way. The other thing is, I'm not convinced, and I'm willing to hear arguments to the counter here, and this is sort of opinion, and I can't say as I'm basing it on fact. But the older I become, which may be a bad sign, the older I become, the more I'm thinking you don't necessarily get better products when one company has got a monopoly on those products.
No. And I'm totally with you there. I'll tell you the other thing. And it's sort of steering away from this monopoly argument, right? You briefly forayed into Mantic earlier.
Yep.
Whilst Mantic is a one-stop shop for your rules and your miniatures, Mantic don't jump up and down when you rock up to a tournament with an 8th edition Warhammer army. They are actually like, fuck it. You're playing the game. You've bought our rules, so have at it, boy. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, Tim's whole video is built around this concept of gatekeeping, and that, you're right, mate. That is the prima facie difference between a company like Mantic and a company like Games Workshop. Mantic, I think, even though somebody would with a smart.
Oh fucking hell! Crispin's just Ewok. Crispin and Ewok are lowering the tone.
I know. I didn't want to. I was going to let that conversation just go.
Fucking
And I'm now
Jesus! I just
regretting.
glanced up and all I saw was fleshlight. I'm like, oh god.
And I am regretting giving them the idea, but just look away from the chat, everyone. Just look away. Okay, now. What were we talking about before we got talking about
Monopolies,
fleshlights and
Mantic,
wrong
and the
holes?
fact that Mantic don't give a fuck if you rock up.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's somebody in a smart suit that's probably said to Ronnie, you really should stop people experimenting with other products in your open days and, make your tournaments exclusive. And I'm sure that's, some smart cookie has said that, and everybody at Mantic said, no, we're good, thanks, mate. Because I think it comes down to the ethos that I talked about with GMG's video.
Yeah.
Mantic understand that our hobby is a community, that it needs to be built and fostered and encouraged.
Not manipulated for monetary gain.
And depressingly, I think it's a sign of modern times that Games Workshop approach is more financially successful. But I think Mantic's approach is less morally bankrupt.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And all credit to them for not just taking the easy win. So, and I guess you've made a good point because the alternative to this is a situation where a company specializes in providing you with something. And that is not necessarily a finished pre-packaged gaming experience. It may be just a component of that gaming experience. So, take Joseph McCulloch, for example. Joseph McCulloch, through Osprey Books, sells you rule sets.
You've done even better than that. Just mentioning Osprey in that sentence as a better example than just McCulloch.
Well, Osprey are an enabler who basically say, if you're a small independent publisher, a small independent author rather, with a game idea, come to us and we'll publish it for you. So Joseph just sells you rules. He'll sell you rules, he'll sell you campaign supplements, he'll sell you support material for his game idea. And he doesn't really care what you then do with that product. Now, he is in a position where his game Frostgrave is big enough and ugly enough and successful enough that North Star Miniatures have a license for official Frostgrave miniatures. And I think Cromlech, didn't they have an official Frostgrave
terrain? I think.
Yeah. So Joseph's obviously managed to sell enough, he's managed to make Frostgrave successful enough that other people have come to him and said, we'd like to complete the circle.
We'd like a slice of your pie, sir.
Yeah. Ewok Kebab said, Gaslands is the only game I ever made a profit on. Are you Mike Hutchison, or are you trolling as Ewok? Ewok Kebab, enough about my prison time. That goat lied on the stand. I think Ewok. Oh my god. I don't even want to go there. So, yeah. And I think it could be just us, But we're looking more at stuff like this, aren't we, mate?
Well, again, we've discussed, if not for the fact that we can do that agnosticism, we're even looking at stuff like, oh, okay, I want to build a rank and flank game. Well, what am I doing? I'm going to buy my miniatures from here, buy my rule set from here, and not go to a one-stop shop, because I get a better and more pleasant gaming experience out of it. And this is where I'm going to go on a bit of a tangential meander, if you'll let me, of 3D printing or sculpting or converting your miniatures for themselves. Because again, unlike the poster boys that have a certain way of doing a certain thing, if you go with the more freeform games, the narrative style games, the games that we've mentioned a ton of on this show repeatedly, you can cut your teeth doing some customization, whether that be digital, whether that be with your old hand tools, etc. And we said this quite recently, actually, with, for example, Oathmark. Of, yes, or Kings of War even. Yes, the Northern Alliance army is very nice and very pretty. But I can build my own Northern Alliance army using dwarves and elves and humans from all of the different suppliers of STLs and miniatures online, and build an army that is truly mine. Nobody else out there will have built exactly the same army.
Yeah.
That is mine, that I've spent the time and effort doing, the time and effort painting. Like, even if I lift somebody else's painting idea, I'm putting it on different miniatures to what they were. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't want this to sound nastily and like it's nailing creativity in the hobby. But how many times do you look at a 40k miniature or an AOS miniature and go, oh, that's immediately that? Even if it's painted in a really wacky, zany style, it's like, that's what that is. That's a Tzeentch demon. That's an Nurgle demon. That's all sorts. Do you know what I mean?
Marine.
Yeah, Space Marine. Whereas from the boutique and bolting on the bits that you want, you get asked questions. Where did you get that from? What miniature's that? Do you know what I mean? Where'd you find your colour scheme inspiration? All of those kinds of things that you don't necessarily get asked so much when you go into a one-stop shop.
Yeah, sure. And I think you're speaking to something that obviously appeals to you. You like that, don't you? Where you like that concept that you might have.
Joe Blogg's come up to me.
I see. I've just seen Ewok's comment about making money on Gaslands. Well done, Ewok. Good for you. They buys an instance. Yeah, don't even go there, Darren. Yeah. But do you think 3D printing is something that's driving, I'm going to call it a renaissance in this approach to gaming? Because there are people there are people older than me that will be able to confirm, I am sure, that this idea predates Games Workshop and all this other crap. Back in the day, when you were a historical wargamer and you did World War II, American Civil War, etc., you had the bloke in Swindon who made little metal miniatures in his garage. You had the guy who printed his rule sheets on cheap photocopied paper and posted them out for like 20 pence postal orders for, you know, anybody who wanted to buy them. And then you made the terrain yourself from junk out of your bin. You know, that was the way things were once upon a time. and it feels to me like it's coming full circle. And do you think 3D printing's driving it?
Right, I think I'm.
Tim, we get it.
I think I've said this before on the channel. I am not a talented green stuff mold guy. I've done 1 or 2 green stuff conversions in my entire hobby career of nearly 10, 11 years at this point. One of them was bastardize a Dark Elf cape onto a Tech Marine to make my Vulcan model for my Salamander's army. And then the other one I did was a green stuff scroll, because I wanted a scroll like 4 times the length of the one that was on the Tau Ethereal. That's my extent of hobbying with that shit.
Yeah, I don't dabble often.
But with enough time, enough ingenuity, and a powerful enough computer and enough Control-Z pressing, the monkeys can write the works of Shakespeare, and the argument can also be made for madmen getting ideas that they have in their head that they couldn't necessarily have sketched and gone through the traditional manufacturing process historically, but now can and do it digitally and sell their idea. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And I think
interconnectivity that we now have because of the internet, and maybe this is what's driving it more than 3D printing.
Do you know what? Paul Howells just shouted it out. He was saying about PDFs, but I think, again, using a broader term, digital publishing in general. I mean, I can set up a Wix site and sort of like design a game rule set, slap some samples or examples, design a blog, and then I can stick my PDF on Wargame Vault, Drive-Thru-RPG, wherever, can't I?
Yeah.
And just sell it through a digital marketplace, literally out of my garage. Whereas there were guys who had a real entrepreneurial spirit 60 years ago to actually make this stuff happen. The digital age has made it. It's lowered the barrier, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Of entry. Yeah.
And it's no bad thing that it's lowered the barrier of entry, but it does, however, now give hobby magpies like us a massive migraine when it comes to deciding what we want to play.
Well, because again, we've talked about the more. I'm gonna say it with reservations, but I'm gonna describe it as the standard model, for want of a better term. With like Games Workshop and Mantic and Weird Miniatures and TT Combat, you know, the one.
Well, again, War Cradle, TT, they're hoovering up the indies.
Yeah. Again,
oh, don't ask that, Spam, because you'll divide the camp here.
What's that? Well, that's fine. That's the kind of thing confrontation.
What is the issue with 3D printing?
Okay, so do you think you have? If you were to do a spirited defense, mate, do you have anything that you would want to say? Because I will happily weigh in on the other side of this argument.
3D printing for me is a hobby in and of itself, the tinkering and fucking around. It's a hobby on top of a hobby. However...
Well, now let me do the however. You just do the spirited defense.
I have access to a ridiculous amount of minis, awesome sculpts, etc., for very little. And by the time I've paid for the resin for them, again, very little. I can knock out a full terrain set. Okay, time is a massive cost for it, but I can knock out a table for 30 quid, i.e. the cost of 2 reels of filament, 2 kilos of terrain, and the print time. It's the print time and the electricity that is what consumes so much.
The first thing to say is that if you stand on the opposite side of the argument, Spam, there is nothing wrong with everything that David has said. 3D printing does offer an almost infinite degree of choice. It gives you, the person, an opportunity to print and create, selectively make for yourself the miniatures that you want, and only the miniatures you want in the quantity that you want. The thing that divides the camp is that for some of us, and I don't know if it's an age thing.
I think a lot of it is age related, unfortunately.
For some of us, we see the fallacy of the time argument, which David's just highlighted. Because of the financial 3D printing is what it is. But what it also is a massive time sink, and requires the development of an entirely new skill set that is not primarily related to your hobby. It requires it just requires so much from you. There is a proportion of the wargaming hobby, myself included, who are quite happy to say, I will never buy a 3D printer, more than likely. I have no interest in learning how to print my own 3D miniatures. I would rather buy ready printed, cast, metal, resin, plastic, whatever. I would rather just go to somebody and purchase what I need, because I know that the time I've got to invest after that point is still way more than I can probably do. And if I put more time commitment this side of that line, I may as well just shoot myself in the head, because I just won't ever get anything done.
See, I have, like we've already touched on earlier, I like chopping and changing and bolting everything together to make it myself. It's one of those things. I like customizing, I like tinkering. It's why I'm an engineer, and it's why I do my day job. I would love to start learning how to sculpt digitally, because I can't sculpt to save my life physically. But because my day job is sat in front of a computer, even supporting models is a chore to me. I want pre-supports that work, etc. Yeah. I don't want to fuck around and spend 20, 30 minutes supporting a mini, because, again, I've had it fail. And yes, I'm a bit anal and do island checking and everything else, but that's because I want to get on with life. I still go out and buy plastic kits. I still go out and support my local clubs and retailers and everything else, and buy my consumables, etc., through my local clubs and shops. But again, my Punga Halfling team that I did, it's so characterful. Punga have two options. You have expensive Kickstarters where it's like 80 odd quid for a team, or you spend 25 quid across 3 months on their Patreon, and then your resin cost, which is not even a quarter of a bottle, and you have a Blood Bowl team for about the same price as you basically spent to go out and get a GW one, but it's really characterful and unique. So
that, in a nutshell, is the contentious subject of 3D printing, and why it divides, somewhat arbitrarily, you might say, the hobby. I don't think the division is at all acrimonious.
Right. I just need to shoot off a second.
Okay.
I will be right back.
So, Yeah. Thing is, Spam, David and I have got that division of labour, that sort of relationship. He is Captain Hard Mode. He is fearless in the face of doing things right or doing things the way he wants them done. I'm 30 years older. I've moved on so that I'm now much more conscious of the time investment that's required to achieve something, and I fall much happier into compromises. I don't think if somebody buys Tim, you may have a point. Look, do I finish things probably more than he does? Maybe yes, because as I'm older, I'm way less ambitious about what I do. Oh, that's awesome. David's voice from the chat. Yeah, so you were stabbing him in the back. To be fair, I probably do, but Tim, you're probably the same or nearly the same age as me. Were you the same when you were 25? Let's just put the cards on the table. I was incredibly naive about the way I did things in terms of the hobby. Now, you could say that's because there weren't the resources that there are now with the internet and that sort of thing. Or you could just say 30 years is a long time to be doing something and learning. It's not a problem, you know. And the thing is, with the 3D printing, it's created a market that people who don't have a large financial support network can release a product to a market. Whereas, you know, if in the days of spin casting, the capital investment to get into making miniatures and marketing miniatures and selling miniatures, even on a small scale, was incredibly high. Now you just need ZBrush and my mini factory account. You know, it's just like, you know. Oh, and of course, shit tons of talent. Okay, so obviously that's a factor, Ewok, if you don't get into it when you were young. Yeah. No, that's... Tell me about it, Ben. Or Crispin, because of Ben. I mean, to be honest, Crispin, my journey was the same. So, in my teens, I was Warhammer and miniatures, and then I married to a ready-made family, 5 kids. So, after I'd graduated, got a proper job, got a house, got a family, I went into collectible card games, and pretty much miniatures died. Because I could easily open up a few booster packs, build a deck, and mess about with that, rather than commit to hobby, as we call it. That required time I didn't have, space I didn't have, money I didn't have. And then, as my kids grew up and had started to move out and had their own lives, I got back into it.
Right.
Yeah. So...
Thank you for kicking me, Tim, by the way.
You're welcome. So what we're talking about this concept of like custom hobby. I mean, the miniatures side of it now is huge with the 3D printing. I mean, terrain as well.
I'm
Fuck.
not even fucking. Let's just roll back a bit to when we were saying about digital distribution.
Yeah.
How many games like Verotwood, fucking Billion Suns, stuff that's picked up by Osprey, etc., and published into print. Stuff that isn't even made into print and is only sold through Wargames Vault, etc.
Yeah.
How much of that wouldn't have ever seen the light of day and wouldn't be shit that we sit here raving about?
Yeah. I mean, as I say, the more I play these little games, I mean, I'm very much the games guy. I focus on rules. I focus on gameplay. It's my first love. Out of all the things that we do in wargaming, a really engaging and clever rule set with some nice interactions, that's what gets me excited more than anything else. I think for you, mate, it's probably miniatures. Would you say is your first love?
Yeah, shiny miniatures, and again, just cool stuff. So I am quite partial to, like I say, a cool miniature, a cool idea or a concept, and I will run down that rabbit hole and fuck anything else in the background. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? It's no, this is what I'm running with and this is what I'm doing. I mean, again, Assassin's Creed, lovely idea, but I don't have the patience. I mean, I struggled enough with League. I gave it a bloody good going to get to where I did with League, but it burnt me out that hard that I then went on to other bits and pieces after that, and it's like,
because there was too much of the miniatures didn't excite you enough for you to get them done. Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, I slogged through all of the like good guys.
Yeah.
Because they were a batch paint, and it meant that I could do it all quicker.
Yeah.
For getting it done for the project and having that deadline.
Yeah.
It didn't actually excite me. I still want to go back and I want to do all of the bad guys because again, they're cool as fuck and unique and characterful. But I'm just burnt out by that at the moment. And again, I'm feeling the same starting to happen with the Flames of War table.
Yeah.
Because I've been absolutely hammering on it. And again...
And is that because, again, there's an element of the burnout is because your first love isn't the terrain. Your first love is the minis.
Yeah.
The terrain is a requirement. It's almost like
to get stuff played.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair.
And then the next point I was just about to make...
Yep, go on.
Was a lot of these build your own games, build your own experiences, etc. There's not many that are huge, like model count. They're all mainly small and all mainly skirmish.
I was going to say that you can make the not huge analogy in all sorts of ways, can't you? So, like, they maybe have low model count. The rules aren't necessarily ambitious. They're not sprawling, narratives with massively convoluted backgrounds and 14 factions. Even when you get games with very unique background stories, like Dracula's America, everything's quite well. It's thought out. It's well thought out and very small. I mean, Joseph's Frostgrave is a fantastic background because it basically, aside from the novels, which I know have gone to support and expand the story greatly, but if you read the blurb in the Frostgrave rulebook, it basically tells you that there is a city run by wizards, trapped in a glacier, it's defrosted, off you go. It's full of magical secrets. That's it. That's all you need to know.
Go discover.
You know? Not
Have fun.
that's all it needs. And to be honest, often, what did we say a couple of weeks ago? Size isn't everything. You know, games don't need 300 pages of lore. Games don't need 20 factions, each with 200 miniatures.
Here's something else I'm just going to touch on while you're on that point. This is a community hobby. We've touched on it before with water cooler moments and in several other streams. This stream is like a combination of lots of our other streams of rounding out and pulling all the topics together, right?
Yeah.
But what is cooler...
By the way, Darren says the Frostgrave novels are good. Noted, Darren. I may treat myself to an ebook.
What's it called? Having and building your own narrative through the games that you've been playing with your friend and having those moments and talking and discussing and building and rounding out your faction and making it yours than being force-fed. Oh, there's a new Tyranid invasion.
Well, again, this, I don't know if everybody remembers, but this argument was made around the time when 40k decided to advance the narrative. Because for years we'd been locked in 2 minutes to midnight, destruction of humanity. And as David says, what that meant was everybody told their own stories. Everybody had their own story about events happening in the now of 40k, which remained unchanged for like 15, 20 years, maybe longer. And then we suddenly had the idea that we were going to advance the narrative with the fall of Cadia and the fucking whatever the bloody Eye of Terror was, it where they blew up a big part of the galaxy. I don't fucking know. And I'll be honest, David's just absolutely outlined the argument against it when it happened, which was that people said, hang on a minute, just let me tell my story. Give me the tools for me to be a storyteller. I
want to do
huge.
Cool shit with my minis.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, here's a... Oh, do you know what? That's a good topic for a web. I'm going to throw this out. Thanks, V, Gathering Storm. What does everybody think to this for a topic? The current attitude of companies taking control of their own game narratives and moving their worlds forward, a la Malifaux, 40k, Mantic to a degree. Has this created a bigger divide between wargaming and role-playing? Whereas previously the two were very intimately enmeshed. I mean, those of us who are old enough remember when Warhammer, it was advised you play with a games master. Rogue Trader, the first edition of 40k, it was recommended that you have an independent games master to adjudicate and tell the story of the game. Have we taken what was a more commingled hobby environment and basically just started slicing it into a pie? Possible topic. Anyway, coming back to what we're actually talking about. One of my contentions, and I think I made it at the beginning of the show, is that with this division of labour, where you get Company A doing the miniatures, Company B doing the rules, Company C doing the terrain, each of those companies can, in their own way, do a better job than a moderately sized company that compartmentalizes or departmentalizes each of these sub jobs or sub routines. What do you think, mate?
Because Matey's building his miniatures day in, day out. He knows how to spin cast them and everything else to get beautiful minis. Same way as Joe Bloggs, that's doing all the terrain, for example, knows how to use a laser cutter, an MDF, and lay a grey board up and everything else and pre-colour it in the case of Micro Art Studios, and build some fucking gorgeous terrain for virtually any game system. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you had Joe Bloggs try to write a set of rules, that's probably not Joe Bloggs' particular set of skills. And it's going to end up being a car crash.
I mean, can you think of, if I was to put you on the spot, can you think of a good example? Miniatures, we've already said, is your thing. Give me a concrete example where you've got an independent miniatures company, it could be STLs, it could be physical miniatures in mind, that's done a better job of, say, one of the big boys, whether that be Weird, Privateer, G-Dub.
Shall we go with OPR and their Zinch fucking Lord of Change?
That's fair. So you would say that OPR have done a lot better on their Change Demons than even some of the classic imagery from GW's.
Yeah, genuinely. Because it's
that's fair.
Different. Again, in a similar vein, Artisan Guilds, fucking countless things. Wood Elves, all of them, Titanforge similarly, do better elves than GW elves.
Right. Which is, fair enough. I mean, are you talking about the new...
In my personal taste.
Okay, right. I mean, have at it in the comments, people. Is that madness? Are the Tzeentch Demons way better than OPR's Change Demons? Go and have a look on my mini factory if you want to know what they look like. I mean... For me, rules is my thing, and I've already said it. If I think about the little independent rule sets I've looked at recently, things like the McCulloch games, Gaslands, even stuff like 7TV, which, they do their own miniatures, but it's designed as a flexible rule set. I'm finding that I'm much more impressed with the efficiency of what they're doing with their rules versus certainly the Games Workshop games. I can barely play any of the big Games Workshop games anymore. I find them so cumbersome, so laborious.
Can I just jump in on this one as well?
Yeah.
So, we were saying that monopolies don't work, etc. I've just had two come absolutely screaming to me, and they're both from the same company.
Let's calm down. We're not saying that they don't work.
No,
because to be fair, they quite obviously do work.
Because again, no, just hear me out on this.
Go on.
TT Combat, right?
Yeah.
Terrain, gorgeous.
Yeah.
Miniatures, gorgeous for Carnivale and Drop Zone Commander together.
Yeah.
Rulebook for Carnivale.
Oh, that is a good shout.
God, is that fucking awful.
Yeah, and we're not saying the rule set particularly, but the book.
The rulebook and the layout is fucking atrocious.
Trash. We weren't particularly impressed with the Flames of War mini rulebook either, were we?
No, we weren't. And DZC, the Army Builder app that's meant to make life easier but doesn't because it's all over the shop on the website.
What's that for?
The DZC one, the army builder,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
fucking riddled with bugs. The Carnivale one's the fucking same as well, and they're not nice to use.
The Carnivale one's
But
got better for the bugs, but it's still fucking horrible to use.
yeah, but again, this is the thing. The miniatures are good. The rule set itself, when you distill it down, is good.
Yeah.
The terrain is good. It's just that they've botched one of the crucial touch points. And this is the thing. Each of these things is a touch point for the user and the game itself. If there is any friction, it's going to be a turn-off.
Yeah.
So, why risk botching something? Let somebody else do it, but better. With the compartmentalize and go with 3 different suppliers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. As I say, I'm perfectly happy for people to take a counter view, but I'm coming round to the opinion, the more games I experience, the more I see that actually you can, when you improve your focus, you can deliver a better product.
I'm going to caveat that with
Yeah.
there are 2 British companies that we both love, that we both play or have played their games, that take a more overarching view.
Yeah.
And I would be surprised if you can't name them.
Well,
Go.
Mantic, for me, are the mold breaker.
Yeah, you've got Mantic, and then you've also got another one.
Because I think out of all of the companies that have created a monopoly, I mean, you look at games like Firefight and Kings of War, the games are good. The miniatures are great. There really isn't much. The way that they've handled and developed them is awesome. So you say there's another British games company that are similar.
Yeah. Also based in Nottingham.
Warlord?
Not that fucking... Yeah, Warlord.
To be fair, I have played far fewer of Warlord's games. I would be reluctant to sing that. I mean, I like bolt action, but I've not played Pike and Shot. I've not played... Somebody tell me what the Warlord systems...
Gates of Antares.
Gates of Antares I've had a demo game of. I did like Gates, to be fair. The only thing was it didn't really have anything that made it different enough.
Yeah.
It was sort of like this weird bastard child of 40k and bolt action, and because I already have both, I didn't really
you weren't looking for it. Whereas if you didn't have 40k, you might have got into it.
Oh yeah, I think if I hadn't have known about GW and had been like 20 years younger, I would have given Gates of Antares a spin. SPQR, good shout, Darren. You see, this is what I mean. Warlord have got a lot of games, a lot. Just the historical sets. Slain. What else do they have? Hail Caesar is another of their rule sets.
We've played that.
Yeah, I'll definitely give you Mantic though. Mantic are a monopoly company that is doing it right.
But that's because they've got a different approach. It's not completely corporate.
Yeah, the attitude thing, the attitude to it is the big part of it.
So basically, after an hour of rambling round and round the topic tonight, I think we can distill it down to a lot of this is attitude based, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of what you want and what you want to get out of your hobby.
Yeah, because
So for us, it is build our own, go get beautiful minis, go get a cool rule set, etc. Then go find the minis for it, etc. And distill it down and have it that way. We don't need to be spoon-fed everything.
No.
So, but no, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's distilled down, and what our approach is isn't necessarily everybody else's approach.
No.
I've just
this is one of those conversations where
I've just suddenly thought
Yeah.
of another company that is a kind of monopoly, but they only have one game.
Right.
Moonstone.
Do you know what? I did think about Moonstone when we were doing this, thinking about this, and I thought, in fairness to the, I mean, again though, he just
But again, he hasn't overstretched himself here.
No.
He's doing beautiful miniatures. He's doing rules that are fucking amazing.
I can give you another one as well. I'm just seeing if the rule book's here, but it's not. Burrows and Badgers.
Yes, because again, what did they do? They went, Sarissa, help us out.
Yeah, Sarissa, multi-award-winning Moonstone. We do apologise. So yeah,
sorry, Tim.
Bot War, I enjoyed it. David didn't. But again, and what? Don't talk about. Is that a Burrows and Badgers one? Don't talk about the Burrows and Badgers Kickstarters. I have said publicly on the stream that if there's a miniature range where I could be tempted to collect everything for the sake of just owning the fucking miniatures, it would be Burrows and Badgers. So do not talk to me about the Kickstarter, because otherwise I will look at it and then I will probably have some sort of stroke. So yeah, we better call it. It's getting late. And do you know what? There's one little sideline we didn't talk about, and we're going to save it for another week. But Jerry, who's not here tonight, bless him, made a great point about on Tabletop Discord about this concept of miniatures agnostic. Probably a term that we have bandied around with quite a bit tonight in our sort of discussions. And basically, what a shit term it is. But we'll leave that for another night. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for everybody in the chat for basically making the show what it is. You guys, as usual, are awesome. Please take a bow. If you can find time to do one thing to help support us, please click the like button. If you can do any of the other things that are listed below it, then please do that as well. But if a like is all you can give us, that is amazing. And it helps with the YouTube algorithm. I think that's all we've got to say. In terms of comments, get in the comments below. Where do you sit on... Do you think that the pre-packaged one-stop shop gaming experience is got advantages that outweigh the problems, the disadvantages, or are you somebody who loves the tailored gaming experience, independent rule sets, independent models, independent terrain companies? Where do you sit in this little spectrum, and what would you recommend for others? Because that's what it's about. It's not about gatekeeping. It's about steering. We talked about it earlier with
shepherd your friends and
but
look after them.
This hobby is a bewildering maze to a newcomer, and if there's one mission statement of our streams, it would be. And certainly is the same, I think, I don't know how you feel, mate, but certainly from my point of view, when somebody comes, if I come across somebody who's recently engaged with a hobby, I want to make them aware of what exactly there is
Yeah.
Because the first thing that they try might not be the thing that they want.
It's not Cinderella's shoe.
No. Oh my God! I think on Tim's terrible fucking dad joke, we will leave it at that.
We're going to just terminate the stream right now.
Exterminate!